and I really enjoyed, watching it. That was real entertainment. Well, as a former defender, and I'm sure Shaka would join me as a former goalkeeper, we don't want to go into details in the defending situations that both teams went into at some point. But overall, I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the battles. I enjoyed also the end of the game when I saw Klopp and Guardiola, almost kissing each other. Because the fight is still on, the game is still on. We don't know who's going to win the Premier League. It's very exciting, and to see those two teams playing the way they played, it's enjoying. We just had a very good time watching two fantastic teams. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's a point apiece. It means that Man City are still 1 point ahead of Liverpool. But Ian, after the game, Pep Guardiola said he feels as though it was an opportunity missed not coming away with the victory. Would you agree with him?
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you look back on the first half, the number of chances Manchester City had to put the game to bed, but they didn't take those chances. Liverpool got away with that and adapted in the second half and were worth the point, I thought, at the end of the game. Tremendous ball, wasn't it, by Salah for Mane for that second goal. But it was one of many, and you can pick out things that happened in the game. It was a surprise selection, Gabriel Jesus by Pep, but that came off, didn't it, as well? I think you saw Kevin De Bruyne as well, right back to his very best now. I think he's put all those injury problems and he had last summer well behind him now. What a ball at the end of the game to release Mahrez. Fantastic ball, and they probably should have taken that chance to win it, but they didn't. And we'll find out when the final maths are done at the end of the season how costly that might or might not be.
Of course we will. Jules, you've talked extensively about this today on the Gab and Jules podcast. I just asked Shaka who stood out. Who for you underperformed on the day?
I mean, because I've expressed it before, I'm not the biggest fan of Jordan Henderson. I think this is a game with all the quality that we mentioned already and the intensity. I mean, he can run, of course, that he can do. For the rest, I don't think technically, for example, he's good enough for this kind of game. Even Thiago Alcantara, who's way better technically than Jordan Henderson, at times struggled because the game was going so quick, because City have players who play between the lines so well that it's so hard, one, to pick them up, and then two, when you recover the ball, to use it well, because then they counter press straight away. For me, that was a problem on the Liverpool side of things, and I think even in the way they pressed and the way Henderson pressed, I don't think he always helped the team. There were some mistakes made, some mistakes that, I know there's always mistakes in a game, nothing is perfect, but some mistakes that I didn't really expect players like Fabinho or Walker to make. The Fabinho one on the first goal, I'm sorry, with 5 minutes in, you cannot turn your back to the ball after you conceded a free kick, by the way, and you can't switch off like that, like he did. Walker, with 46 seconds after the break, you can't be half asleep when you've just started the second half and give a yard to Mane, because you know that Salah can pick that pass and that Mane will finish. For me, those mistakes at that kind of level are still a bit surprising, but of course, when you play against such an amazing team both ways, you're going to make mistakes. Maybe even Trent on the Gabriel Jesus goal as well, and the way his marking is maybe a little bit loose. But yeah, there was not many that didn't really perform well, to be fair.
Frank?
Well, I would agree with Jules about Anderson, that he didn't have a fantastic game, even if I think he did what they had to do. But I think I was mostly disappointed by one of the players that I cheered the most is Van Dijk. I think he was quite fragile, especially the first half, and he wasn't the Van Dijk that we all know. But we have to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. That guy, offensively, is one of the best player in the world in terms of giving the best ball that I never seen in my life. But defensively, oh my God, how many times on his back, he doesn't even look at it. He's like a little kid, just looking at the ball, never taking care of what's going on his back, which is absolutely the essence of what a defender has to do. In the first half, he didn't do it. In the second half, he was on the left side, and they conceded the goal with the second goal that City scored. And he was marking the guy, and it's like he doesn't care. And I can't understand that, because he's a tremendous player offensively, and there's only one thing to think about. Just look a little bit what's going on on your side and on your back, and maybe you're going to be a better defender. I love him, really. I love him. He's a fantastic player, but at that level, he's causing some problems and trouble. I'm sure Klopp is working with him about that, but it's clearly not enough because he has to do better.
Do you agree, Shaka, or is that a risk that you have to take with a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold?
No, listen, I agree with all criticism, but at the same time, I think it represents how highly we've set a bar for these players. And these are criticisms, while Jules is criticising Kyle Walker, for instance, for being out of position once. There was once in the first half where there was a ball in behind and he came from right back, came all the way across the park and intercepted that pass. And intercepted and broke up a player. I can't remember exactly who it was. But that's Kyle Walker and with Salah. And that's how good he is. So then when you see him get exposed by as good a pass as it was, as good a run as it was by Sadio Mane, all of a sudden that stands out because you realise how good a right back he is and how difficult it is to catch him out of position because he's so quick. We know that Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't great defensively. Saying that, he's been a whole lot better lately. He's always been good going forward, but then he gets exposed. And you see it. And it's the marking, I think the criticism, again, kind of recognises how good the opponent is. There aren't many teams in world football, never mind just the Premier League, who will catch Kyle Walker out of position. There aren't many teams in world football who will expose Trent Alexander-Arnold as often as City did. So while you criticise and Van Dijk, and I agree with Frank, but we're talking about Van Dijk. That performance was good for 99% of centre-backs in world football at the highest level. But all of a sudden you see him now and you just think it's not looking like what we expect of him. So while the criticism is real and it's valid, I think you have to recognise it for who it is and how good both these teams are at exposing the smallest of opportunities.
Ian, what's your thoughts on it?
I was just thinking, as Shaka was talking there, about I wonder what the situation would have been in that game if Manchester City had Alf-Inge Haaland. Not Alfie Haaland, of course, Erling Haaland. But they're likely to get him next season. He surely would have put a couple of those chances in the first half into the back of the net. And I thought they maybe just suffered from that. You saw Sterling as well, didn't you, have that chance in the first half? And Alisson makes the save from him, and the identical chance that Mane had, he puts it in the back of the net. So, I think Liverpool are that little bit more ruthless in attack.
So 1 point between the two after that 2-2 draw, as mentioned, and now 7 games left. Many saying that Liverpool have the harder run in. I think it's a unanimously thought there. But are there some dropped points still to go from both sides? What's your pick here, Jules, on what you see? Who's going to go all the way and do
as much
this?
as I would love them both. Yeah, I mean, I would love them to go 7 out of 7. Both of them. I would love another Premier League season with a 1 point in between them two, like the 98-97 points of 2 years ago. I don't think both can do it. I think maybe one of them two, but I think some points will be dropped. We've seen City at times against the smaller team, against the really, really low block, against really aggressive teams, like at Crystal Palace the other day with that 0-0 draw, for example, where they struggled to break them down. They created the chances sometimes, and the finish was the problem, or sometimes didn't create enough, and that was also an issue. I mean, I know I said it all the time, but 4 games in the Premier League this season where they didn't score a single goal. Liverpool only 1, for example. So I think maybe that could be a problem for City. On paper, they've got an easier run of fixture, of course, because Liverpool still have the Liverpool derby. They have to play United. They will have to play Spurs, albeit that's at home. But still, Spurs' form at the moment is incredible. So that's not a given. I think they both have Aston Villa. There's West Ham as well for West Ham away and Wolves away for City too. So they're not easy games. I don't think both of them will do 7 out of 7. I think some points will be dropped. I said Liverpool will win, so I have to stick with Liverpool. Although right now you would rather be in the City position than in the Liverpool position.
Jules going for Liverpool here. Frank, what about you?
Well, it's going to be. It depends first on what's going to happen on Saturday and the FA Cup semi-final first. Then what's going to happen in the Champions League for both of the teams. And you know what? Because sometimes you have to go into details and believe in your destiny, the last game of Manchester City is against Aston Villa. The coach of Aston Villa is Steven G. And so you never know what can happen. And because it's always in the last breath of the Premier League that we have, you know, a decision, I would say that I would go with Liverpool at the last game because Aston Villa is going to win against Manchester City.
A little bit of cheeky foul play there. Suggestions by Frank, was that Shaka?
Oh, I am not leaning into what Frank said, whatever it is he was suggesting there. Listen, City are in pole position, obviously, by just a point. And to Jules's point, City have dropped points this year against Southampton, Crystal Palace, who've played in that low block. They've lost at home to Tottenham Hotspur, who I don't think anybody in the rest of City's games have that pace up front to expose City on the counter-attack. As hard as it is, I just feel that City somehow hang on and get it done. And that taking nothing away from Liverpool's run, the run that they've been on. They haven't dropped points at all in the league since early January. So I just feel that if there's anybody who's going to drop points, maybe it's Liverpool. So I'm leaning City, but only just.
Ian?
Well, you have to say it's advantage Manchester City. They're a point clear. They're well capable, looking at that fixture list, of winning all 7, I'd say, from here on in. Liverpool do have the slightly tougher run in, as Jules was saying. I mean, Spurs at home, you know, Tottenham look a different proposition, don't they, these days? A Merseyside derby, you saw Everton fight like tigers at the weekend, so those aren't going to be easy games. Having said that, Liverpool have won 10 of their last 11. City have dropped a few points, so it is the toss of a coin, but at this stage, you'd have to say a slight advantage Manchester City.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.